Good afternoon. Sorry. His Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Quad workshop on subnational climate action and QChamp. Quad is a new initiative since this year, May. This is the first workshop on subnational climate action. So this workshop should be very exciting. This workshop is organized by National Government of Japan, Australia, India, and the US, and co-organized by ICRE and the IGS Institute of Global Environmental Strategy. I'm Junichi Fujino from IGS. I will do today's MC. I would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Akihiro Nishimura, Minister of the Environment Japan, for opening remarks. So please come to the podium.
Good
afternoon, everyone. This is Akihiro Nishimura, the Minister of the Environment of Japan.
まずはじめに、本会議の共催者であります米国、豪州、インド、そしてまた協力をいただいておりますICREと IGES の皆様に対しまして、会議の開催にご協力いただきましたことを心から感謝申し上げます。また、本会議の登壇者およびご参加いただいた皆様に心から歓迎の意を表したいと思います。
First of all, I would like to thank the United States, Australia, India, who are the co-organizers of this event, as well as the ICLE and IGES for their cooperation so that we were able to have this event successfully. And I would like to also thank all the participants and speakers, and of course, dear participants, thank you for coming to this.
世界の脱炭素の実現のためには、温室効果ガスの排出量の7割を占める都市の果たす役割というものが極めて重要だと考えます。
To achieve decarbonization globally, cities that account for 70% of the GHG emissions play an extremely important role.
インド太平洋地域の国や都市では、ネットゼロ経済への公平かつ現実な移行と強靭化が喫緊の課題となっているところです。
For the cities in the Indo-Pacific, a just and realistic transition to net zero economy and the enhancement of its resilience need to be addressed urgently.
こうしたニーズに応えるために、本年の5月に日米豪印首脳会合によって、日米豪印気候変動適応緩和パッケージ、QChampを立ち上げました。
And to meet these needs, a climate adaptation and mitigation package called QChamp was launched at the Quad Summit meeting held in May this year.
本日のワークショップはこの QChamp に基づいて、地方自治体の気候行動に関する知見共有と相互学習を図るものであります。
And today's workshop is aimed at knowledge sharing and mutual learning on municipal climate actions.
脱炭素を実現するためには、中央政府によって地方自治体を支援すること、また類似の地域的課題を有する地方自治体間の連携が効果的であります。
And to achieve decarbonization, the central government's support for local governments and collaboration among municipalities facing similar challenges are effective.
我が国においては、国が先進的な地方自治体を支援して、100カ所以上の脱炭素先行地域、これを作る取り組みを進めています。またアジアを中心とした海外の都市との連携事業を通じた知見の共有を行っています。
In Japan, the central government has been supporting the municipalities towards creating 100 or more advanced decarbonization areas. Japan is also promoting knowledge sharing among cities across the borders, especially in Asia, through a city-to-city collaboration program.
本日は地方自治体の気候行動を後押しする中央政府の役割や都市間連携の促進方法について議論いただきますけれども、こうした我が国の経験を広く共有して議論に貢献してまいりたいと考えています。
Today, we will be discussing the roles of the central government to support the municipal climate action and measures to facilitate city-to-city collaboration. I hope that Japan can contribute to the discussion by sharing our experience with you.
本ワークショップを通しまして、各国の取り組みを相互に学び合い、そして、互いの政策の向上を図ってまいりたいと考えています。
Let us learn from each other's experience in this workshop and use the learnings to improve our policy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Minister Nishimura, for your opening remarks as a representative of Japan. From Australia, I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Chris Bowen, Minister for Climate Change and Energy, for opening remarks. So please come to the podium.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you to Japan for organizing this important workshop. And thank you to my friend, the Minister, for inviting me to help him open this important workshop. I also want to acknowledge the representatives of the United States here, important partners in the Quad as well. And the Quad to us is so important that the new government was elected on a Saturday, and on Sunday, the new Prime Minister was on a plane to Japan for a Quad meeting. That's how important the Quad has become to all of us and important in Australia. And the Quad is important across many areas, but it's important in the areas that we are responsible for as well. And I was very honored and delighted to chair the first meeting of the Quad Energy Ministers in Sydney in July. This was a very important step where we talked about supply chain issues and cooperation to ensure diverse supply chains, and that we are using the Quad for the purposes of ensuring that we are cooperating across the board when it comes to climate change. But this is an important workshop because, as I say in Australia, the task of acting on climate change is too important for governments alone. It's got to be the task of governments, business, the community, the private sector, and the work of all governments. As you know, in Australia, we have 3 levels of government: federal, state, and local. And we need to be all working in the same direction. And I'm very pleased to report that in Australia, that is the case. We have a very cooperative relationship between the federal government and all the states. We have a thing called the National Energy Ministers meeting. We're meeting every couple of months, and working together on this massive transformation is the key agenda item of those meetings. We've agreed to a national energy transformation partnership, a roadmap of all the infrastructure investment that the states and the federal government need to bring to the table. And at the last meeting of the National Energy Ministers was the first time, at the invitation of the federal government, we had a representative of local government there as well, the president of the Australian Local Government Association, representing local government. I want to acknowledge the Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Australia's largest local government, that's here today participating in the workshop, which is great to see. So I just wanted to come and, despite all our busy schedules of this busy negotiation, lend my support to our friends from Japan for their leadership in instigating this workshop. I know Japan feels that it needs to be an all-in effort. Australia feels it needs to be an all-in effort. It is an all-in effort in the United States. It is in India as well. And this workshop is just the latest step in the very important work that the Quad is conducting. The Quad has become increasingly important. And in our space that we have shared responsibility for, it is going to continue to be important. Thank you for coming and participating in this workshop, which has been sponsored by our friends in Japan today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your opening remarks. I also would like to invite the opening remarks by Mr. Reid Shura, Managing Director and Senior Advisor in the Office of U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate Change, John Kerry. So, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And it's just a total pleasure to be here with leaders like the 2 ministers who just spoke. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, sends his regards and his thanks to the organizers, our hosts, Japan, for this event, and for all of the wonderful work that's been happening under the Quad. I can think of no better anecdote about the Quad's relevance and importance than what Minister Bowen just shared with us about the new Prime Minister attending the Quad one day after inauguration. And this venue is increasingly important for our collaboration in all of our core areas of work. And we're here to recognize the critical importance of climate action, not only at the national level, but critically at the subnational level, in collaboration between the national, state, and local levels in each of our countries and across the Quad. Too often in the past, at the COPs, the national governments are the only ones on stage. There has been this hyper focus on what national governments can do. And quite frankly, over the last several decades, many national governments have been playing catch up to the leading efforts of states, provinces, territories, cities, local jurisdictions across the world. These subnational actors have much to learn from one another. We have much to learn from them, and we're dedicated to making the Quad a successful venue for facilitating that exchange. We all have very ambitious climate goals, and we know that we cannot reach these goals without, as Minister Bowen put it, all sectors of society being all in. So whether it's an Australian state with a net zero target, whether it is an Indian jurisdiction working to deploy significant new renewable energy, an American city working to help decarbonize buildings, these efforts are increasingly adding up and building on critical national action and showing what we can do together. So we're incredibly proud of that work. From day one of his administration, President Biden said, the United States is back, we're rejoining the Paris Agreement, and over the last 4 years, despite the lack of national government acting on climate, we've had American mayors, American governors, tribes, and others standing up, continuing to act, continuing to work around the world with partners. And today, we're happy to say we're doing all of that together. We are working day in, day out between the federal government, our state, local, and tribal partners to ensure that it is adding up to more than the sum of its parts. And we're increasingly proud to be doing that with our key partners through the Quad. So it's an enormous pleasure and honor to be here today. Thank you to our host, Japan, for having us. And we look forward to meeting back here in a year and talking about everything that we've done in this Quad venue. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rizishura, for your excellent opening remarks. So now, we'd like to have a photo session. Very in the beginning, but okay. So please come to the podium first, and also we'd like to invite the mayor, Libby Sharp, Mayor of Auckland, and then Lord Mayor of the Brisbane, Adrian Shurinan, and then Joe Evans from the Australia. So please come to the stage. Okay. I share. She's yeah. Oh, many many camera. Okay. Okay, last shot. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much for joining this photo session. Okay, so then now we'd like to move to the session one. So this session one, we share the measures by national government to promote subnational climate actions, and then cases of international city-to-city collaboration. And then we have 4 speakers, 2 from the cities, and then 2 from the government. Okay, so then now I would like to invite the Mayor of Auckland, Miss Libby Shah. So then please come to the podium. Thank you very much.
What a pleasure to be here with the Quad. We know that we all have to collaborate together to tackle our climate challenges. And solutions are going to come from every level, from our national governments, but also our subnational governments. I have served as the mayor of Oakland for 8 years. And during that time, some of the most gratifying and interesting revelations around climate solutions has come from person-to-person relationships with my fellow mayors across the globe. When I became the mayor, Oakland was part of the 100 resilient cities, where I learned that while each of our cities is quite unique, our dedication to helping our people and our planet is truly the same. And I want to recognize some very specific ways in which Quad partners have influenced our understanding and our work in Oakland. In Sydney, Australia, this is a city that has truly lifted up the importance of involving Indigenous communities in climate action. We are inspired by that work and have worked to emulate this in Oakland by centering the voices of those who are most impacted first and worst by climate catastrophe, as well as honoring the first Indigenous people of our lands by being the first city in the United States to give municipal land back to our tribal people. In Japan, there's so much to admire about Japan. I just, on a personal note, having been to Tokyo, your cities are so clean. They are beautiful. You are a waste management inspiration. And Oakland recently celebrated the 30th anniversary of our very first sister city of Fukuoka, Japan. And when they came with Mayor Takashima to celebrate in Oakland, they brought their climate team with them. They met with our experts to talk about how we have stood up in just 5 years, a community-owned clean energy utility that not only is giving us energy independence by using our solar power, but is also creating savings for our residents, is on the way to helping us achieve our ambitious goal of 100% clean energy by the year 2030, and is also generating profits that this community-owned organization gives back to the community in the form of hundreds of EV charging stations, and recently a partnership with our hospital to put air filters into homes where people are especially impacted by emissions. So those are just a few examples of very specific ways that every day we are inspired. And I would be remiss to leave out Quad partner India. My new best friend, the mayor of North Dhaka in Bangladesh, is an inspiration for liberating much land to give back to his people as community parks. In Oakland, we're trying to do something similar with a piece of land right on our waterfront. We are a coastal city. This land used to be used for port operations, but now that the ships are bigger, is no longer practical for modern shipping. We are working to develop this land to give it back to the people with acres and acres of public parks that now will be available for everyone to enjoy our beautiful waterfront. So thank you so much for including Oakland, California in your discussions today. We are a very proud member of this Quad community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Libby Shah, for sharing the very best practices from the Oakland, US. Then next, I would like to invite Lord Mayor Adrian Schreiner, City of Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. So, yeah, please come to the podium and then Fukuda-san, can you help? It's okay. Yeah, okay. So, right.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian Schreiner. I'm the Lord Mayor of Brisbane. Brisbane is Australia's largest local government, and we're one of the few Australian cities that are represented here at the COP27, which something I'm very proud of. We only have 2 mayors here from Australia. One is myself and the other one is the Lord Mayor of Hobart in Tasmania. So it's an honor to be here. And I'll just take you through a quick presentation of some of the things that we've been doing in Brisbane, if I can get this to work. Yeah, sure. Apologies. While I'm getting the presentation to work, I wanted to just talk about the challenge that Brisbane has at the moment. We're the fastest growing city in Australia, particularly the fastest growing large city as well. And so in some ways we're the Phoenix, Arizona of Australia. Massive growth, a lot of internal migration coming from other parts of Australia, and also now international migration as well. And that presents significant challenges for our city, but we're making sure that as we grow as a city that we do so sustainably. Okay, it's working now. So we're located in Southeast Queensland. We are surrounded by some of the largest councils in Australia. So Brisbane is the largest council. The Gold Coast is the second largest council in Australia. And in fact, 5 of the top 10 biggest councils in Australia are in Southeast Queensland. The scale of Brisbane in terms of population, we have 1.2 million residents in our local government area, and we're at the heart of a region that has almost 3 million people. But the size of our local government area is quite comparable to some of those major cities in terms of the land mass that we cover. And so just as a quick comparison, obviously a lower population, but quite a large area as well. Last year, Brisbane was named as the host city for the 2032 Olympics and Paralympic Games. And so there's 10 years to go. We're very excited about this opportunity, but we want to leverage this opportunity as a way of not only providing infrastructure to manage our growing population, but to lock in sustainability goals and targets. And so that as 2032 arrives, we'll have a deadline to achieve incredible sustainability initiatives in our city. We've started our sustainability journey as a city probably long before the national government or the state government did. We started in the mid-2000s. I've been a councillor in the Brisbane City Council for 17 years now. Was elected in the mid-2000s. Shortly after I was elected, and around the time that film An Inconvenient Truth came out, that's when we started our climate change journey. One of the first things we did as a city was to develop a major tree planting operation. We planted 2 million trees in the city of Brisbane in a 4-year period, and we've continued to grow that natural environment. But we also focused on making sure that our infrastructure is more sustainable, our modes of travel are more sustainable as well. And the key focuses in terms of our sustainability cover all 5 of those areas. Brisbane is known as the River City. We are a city that is based around a river and was built largely on a floodplain. And what that means, it's got a wonderful lifestyle, but we are prone to natural disasters, and in particular, prone to flooding. And earlier this year, in February, we had one of the most devastating floods that our city has ever seen. 23,000 homes and businesses were flooded. The cost of that is many billions of dollars. The recovery effort is still ongoing now. There was $600 million of damage to city assets, and we're in the process of rebuilding that, but we're building back better. We're building back in a more sustainable and resilient manner so that we can better cope and adapt to future floods that will come. We are Australia's largest certified carbon neutral government organisation. And so not only are we the largest council, but we are the largest government organisation in Australia to be carbon neutral as certified by the national program. And so that's something we've been very proud of, and we started that journey a number of years ago, and we continue that. But we also had a big focus on resilience, clean air, and supporting a circular economy. But at this point, I just wanted to add in some late breaking news. Just earlier this week, we have been inducted into the UN's Habitat Sustainable Development Goals Cities program. This is a program which was started in 2020, so it's only recently been started. And we're now the 6th city in the world to be inducted into that program. We've achieved our first level of certification, and we look forward to progressing that program. That program is about measuring our progress as a city against the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals, but tracking all of those, benchmarking them, and mapping out a clear path forward for our city. We're the first local government in Australia to release a clean air strategy. I've mentioned the carbon neutral status. We also have a target to have 40% of our city to have green habitat cover. And so we are currently at 38.9%. If you visit Brisbane and you fly in over the city, you will see a city that is covered with green. And that's not just in our bushland reserves, like the one you'll see here, but in people's backyards. There are lots of trees. There are lots of street trees. It is a very green city. And we're also home to the koala. And so there are koalas in our suburbs, and we actually have also the largest koala park in the world in Brisbane. It's called Lone Pine. It is owned by the Japanese. So it's a wonderful asset for our city. But having that wildlife in our city, in our suburbs, is something that makes us even more determined to protect our environment in Brisbane. We've been working on a number of initiatives to bring down food waste. They've had significant success, and also boosting our public transport as well. We have a program which buys up private land and creates new conservation reserves to protect that bushland. And there's been 4,300 hectares protected already through that. Big part of our transition when it comes to climate action is to decarbonize our public transport. So we have a new program called Brisbane Metro, which is a bus rapid transit program using trackless trams. Now, these trackless trams are very long. They're the size of trams, but they run on the road. They are fully electric, and they use fast charging technology. The first one here is currently under testing in Brisbane. We will roll out a whole network of those. We'll also transition our fleet to zero tailpipe emissions over the coming years as well. We're doing a lot of work to capture landfill gas and burn that to create clean energy and feed it back into the power grid. We've installed solar panels on a range of our facilities, and we're continuing to grow our urban forest as well to create that green cover target of 40% of the city. So that is a quick snapshot of some of the things that Brisbane is doing. I could talk for 3 hours on what the city is doing, but I'm also happy to take any questions if anyone has any questions at this point. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lord Mayor Adrian Schwinner. And then it's very exciting that you will have an Olympic Paralympic game in 2032. Tokyo just enjoy the summer game last 2021. Okay. Then next, I would like to invite Ms. Jo Evans, Deputy Secretary, Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water, Australia. So please come to the podium. Yeah.
よろしくお願いします。オーストラリアのジョー・エヴァンスと申します。今日こんな素敵なパビリオンで話す機会があると非常にありがとうございます。I am Joe Evans. I have the great pleasure of actually being the chair of the Climate Change Quad Working Group for the coming 12 months. And I want to first express my deep appreciation to my colleague Akahori-san for his leadership over the last 12 months in bringing us not just to this particular event, but the great progress we have made through the Quad on climate change over the last 12 months. So thank you. Minister Bowen spoke a little bit to you about the system of government in Australia. We do have a federation, so we have a Commonwealth layer of government, we have the state level of governments, and then we have the local governments, and the Lord Mayor of Brisbane who's spoken to you is a member of that third layer. It's absolutely the case that we need all three layers of government and the community and the private sector to genuinely engage on climate action. And I think the frameworks that we have in place in Australia through all of those levels are allowing us to do that in a really collaborative way. The way I would characterize it is, for the most part, the Commonwealth's role is to set the direction in which we need to head. And so recently, the Australian government has established a really clear articulation of achieving net zero emissions by 2050 and embracing a target for 2030, which is 43% emissions reductions from our 2005 levels by 2030. And putting that not just into our nationally determined contribution, but also putting it into legislation so that it's a really clear signal to all the layers of government and all of the parts of our society that that is what we are seeking to achieve. So the Commonwealth Government absolutely there to provide a leadership role in that sense. The state governments, or I should say actually the levers for action, we have some at the Commonwealth level, but the vast majority of those levers sit either with our states and territories or at the local government level. And you can hear some of the amazing things that are going on at that level through Mr. Schrinner's presentation. The Lord Mayor mentioned that Brisbane and Hobart are the two representatives here at a local council level. We have actually brought some of the other states and territories with us. And if you have had a chance to visit the Australian Pavilion, and I should shout out that today is your last day to get one of those fantastic coffees that we have been serving over there, carbon neutral coffee, also certified like the Brisbane City Council under the Climate Active program. So go ahead and grab one of those after this session if you get a chance. But we have had quite a few of the other states come and present about what they are doing at that pavilion. So we've had South Australia, we've had New South Wales and Queensland and others all presenting about how they are contributing to the overall effort that Australia is making. And I make one reflection, actually. We are, like many countries, preparing our biennial or our national communication back to the UNFCCC this year. And what that does is give us a chance to go and get the stories from each of the states and territories and from the local governments and tell that story about all of the actions that are being taken and provide that in one place through the UNFCCC. So we're very much looking forward to submitting that at the end of this year because we think we've got a fantastic story to tell about what is happening in Australia. Maybe I'll just touch on a couple of specific programs that we're running that give you that sense of the Commonwealth giving the leadership role and then the states and territories or the local government falling in to support that or contributing to it. At the national level, the Minister spoke briefly about the National Energy Transformation Partnership that has been agreed with all of the states and territories. This is an effort to make sure that the whole of Australia is pulling towards getting our energy system, our electricity system to net zero emissions as soon as we can. So it's part of an overall strategy to decarbonise the electricity system, use that system to then electrify as many other parts of the economy as we can, and then decarbonise the rest. So that framework has been put in place at a national level. But to be honest, many of the really difficult issues are going to happen at the local government level. So the planning issues, the immediate community reactions to the fact that perhaps for the first time they might have a wind farm nearby or they might have a large solar farm popping up or whatever else it might be. So all of the layers of governments have to get involved in trying to help the community embrace those big objectives and get on with putting the changes in place. Maybe just one other program that I'll mention. The Lord Mayor from Brisbane mentioned that they support, among other things, landfill gas areas to capture their waste methane and turn it into electricity. So one of the examples of a framework that is in place at a national level that then allows that kind of activity to happen at a local level is a program we have called the Emissions Reduction Fund. So this is a program where at the Commonwealth level, we set the framework out that says we are seeking to reduce emissions and we do the detailed work on how to describe what it would take for a company, or in this case, a local council or a waste facility, to genuinely reduce its emissions and be able to demonstrate that it's reduced its emissions. And then through the Emissions Reduction Fund, the Commonwealth runs a reverse auction to actually buy that abatement effort that has come from wherever it might have come from, a private company or a local council or a state government or wherever it comes from. So national frameworks, action on the ground that is supported by those things. And there's other examples of it, particularly in the adaptation space as well. The Commonwealth role, I would say, is to describe the kinds of issues that might come, provide information that is available to all layers of government to then think through what those risks are for them so that they can do the planning on the ground. And that's the style of the way that we split up the different opportunities between the layers of government. So maybe just as a final observation, you know, I said that in the national communication, you will see a really coherent picture from Australia. And I think that has been a change with the new government that has come in. We've now got leadership from the top and all of the states and territories and the local governments all chipping in to contribute to our really ambitious goals. So thank you for that. And I look forward to contributing in the panel discussion later on. Arigato.
Thank you very much, Joe, for sharing the Australian so many initiatives and it's quite exciting to have wider collaboration under this QChamp. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, then now I would like to invite Mr. Satoshi Watanabe, Deputy Director, International Cooperation on Sustainable Infrastructure Office, Global Environmental Bureau, Ministry of Environment, Japan. So, are you ready? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so
good afternoon, everyone. My name is Satoshi Watanabe, Deputy Director, Ministry of the Environment, Japan. It's my great honor to be here with excellent speakers. So today, I would like to introduce the Japanese national governmental measures of how the Japanese government is promoting subnational climate actions with local governments. I think I can introduce a good example of multi-level action between national government and local governments. So first of all, as a backdrop information, almost all Japanese local governments have already committed to their to their carbon neutral target by 2050. And in order to achieve the targets, the national government set to a national council under the central cabinet last year, and our line ministry, including our minister and local government leaders, discussed closely and then formulated this regional decarbonization roadmap last year. This slide shows the 3 key messages in this regional decarbonization roadmaps. The first one is regional decarbonization is a regional growth strategies. So as you know, while Japanese government is keen to make a regional revitalizations in my country, and as well as we are promoting regional decarbonizations. And the second key message is decarbonization project can solve problem in the regions. So it is called local SDGs. Many local cities and the local governments have a lot of challenges fitting with local current situations. So decarbonization is just one of local SDGs. So our national government and local governments is promoting a co-benefit approach between climate change and other issues. And the third message is every municipalities can take initiatives and address it with current technologies. So this decade is so crucial towards 2050. So this roadmap emphasizes we will promote climate action immediately with current technologies. We cannot wait for future innovations. And based on this roadmap, we will make our target of the roadmap is that we will make 100 decarbonization leading areas, aims to achieve the goal of its decarbonization by fiscal year 2030. And 46 decarbonization leading areas were already selected by our ministry. And subsequently, our ministry will call for applications semi-annually until fiscal year 2025. And after 2030, after maybe we will achieve 100 decarbonization leading areas. Towards 2050, we would like to replicate these leading areas and leading models to other areas in Japan. So through these efforts, we would like to achieve the zero carbon city in Japan, in all local governments in Japan. So this slide shows concrete countermeasures clearly stipulated in local decarbonization roadmap. The Japanese national governments support local governments to implement their measures by providing human resources and technical knowledge sharing and finance. And then especially regarding finance, our ministry will make 20 billion yen for the local governments, and the other 20 billion yen will be invested in corporations that implemented decarbonization projects. The total 40 billion yen is a very huge budget, especially for our ministry. But it's quite a big challenge for our ministry. But we have to make this finance effective, as well as making human resource support and technical knowledge sharing support. So let me talk about the international cooperation activities of our ministry. So, excuse me, I missed to say that. So, in this roadmap, we called it decarbonization domino effect. We would like to make a decarbonization domino effect from this 100 leading area to other areas. But we also would like to enlarge decarbonization domino effect, not only in Japan, but also to the world. So our ministry is promoting a city-to-city collaboration program between Japanese city and the partner cities. So Japanese city will transfer their knowledge and experience for decarbonization in partnership with private solution providers in Japan. So through this effect, we aim to realize net zero declarations, the introduction of decarbonized infrastructure, building capacity, and raise awareness of stakeholders in partner cities. This city-to-city collaboration project was started in 2030, and over the past 11 years, 20 Japanese cities have linked with 45 cities in 13 countries. And in these each city-to-city collaborations, a variety of projects have been formulated to meet the needs of partner cities, like introducing renewable energies, energy-saving equipments, and sustainable infrastructure like waste to energy. And let me show the two good outcomes of this city-to-city collaboration project. The first one is a city-to-city collaboration between Tokyo Metropolitan Government and Kuala Lumpur City in Malaysia. So in this cooperation, the building system was established in Kuala Lumpur City that was adapted to local conditions with reference to the Tokyo Metropolitan Government's green building system. And in addition, as a result of support for the creation of scenarios for decarbonization by Tokyo Metropolitan Government. Kuala Lumpur City declared its 2015 zero carbon city goals last year. We think this is one good cases of decarbonization domino effect from Japanese city to partner cities. And the second case is Yokohama City and Danan City corporations. The cooperation between the two cities led to the introduction of energy saving equipment in the water purification plants in Danan City. And now it has been replicated similar project in other cities in Vietnam. So we will promote this city-to-city collaborations to spread the transboundary decarbonization domino effect from Japan to the world. So finally, I would like to introduce one international forum. This is a Zero Carbon City International Forum held in Japan and the US this March. 22 cities from 14 countries took the stage to share advanced examples of cities. And also the importance of multi-level cooperations and the international city-to-city collaborations was also confirmed in these forums. And our Prime Minister Kishida sent his video message and committed to making decarbonization efforts at the city level and at the local region levels. So finally, let me summarize my presentation. Japan is making domestic measures in order to achieve zero carbon city in all regions. And midterm target is to realize 100 decarbonization leading areas by 2030. And our final target is all zero carbon city by 2050. And in order to make such a decarbonization domino effect to the world, we are also promoting international cooperation activities through city-to-city collaboration and holding international forums. And in addition, for future, we would like to consider what kind of activities we can do further. And we will consider together with many partner countries and organizations. That's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Watanabe-san, for sharing the also very lot of initiative from the Japan. So we learned that so many activities are happening at the local and national level by the four speakers' presentation. Okay, then I would like to move session 2 to share the program to support subnational climate action from the two famous organizations. One is the OECD, and then another one is World Bank. And then from OECD, I would like to invite Dr. Tadashi Matsumoto, head of the unit Sustainable Development and Global Relations. So, Prize, it's yours. Slide 大丈夫。
Thank you, Fujino-san, and welcome. And I'm very happy to represent the OECD in this very important event. My name is Tadashi Matsumoto, and on behalf of the OECD, we welcome the Quad initiative and the Q-Champ initiative, and we are happy and ready to support this initiative through a number of different initiatives. But today I would like to present one of the initiatives that particularly focuses on the support to local government, but also multi-level coordination. The name of the program is called A Territorial Approach to Climate Action and Resilience. We call it TACAR. The program aims at several things, but I just like to stress the importance of a granular approach to subnational climate action. So when national government says, yes, we like to support cities or we like to support local governments, but in fact, local governments are different and then local governments are diverse, challenges are diverse, potentials are diverse, and then also solutions are different. So that's why we use the language territorial approach, meaning it's not to territorialize something, but it's more like a place-based approach from the national government. So we prepared for 4 pillars to support governments, national and local. First one is to look at localized indicator. I focus on this one today, so I'll touch upon this in a later slide. But also we approach pillar 2 as a checklist for policy action, pillar 3 for innovative compendium of innovative climate policies focusing on multi-level collaboration, and then tracking subnational climate finance. So these are the components of the program. We are very happy to announce that actually Japan has joined and then became a first country to work together with OECD to achieve these 4 different pillars, and we are interested and also willing to support other Quad countries and more. On pillar 1, I would like to mention a few things. Yes, so we are negotiating at the COP about national target, national climate action. In fact, if you look at subnational level, national average, whether it be a national target or a roadmap, a national average masks the difference of the local diversity and disparities. Also, if we don't have a clear communication tool, we are referring to indicator framework. But if you don't have a common indicators which are used at the national and local level, you are not, communicating well in terms of the needs, in terms of the potential, and so on. So we are thinking about developing an indicator set. There are many indicator sets, but here we like to create a set of indicators which can be internationally comparable, but also can be used both at national and local level. So that's what we are trying to do. We are in the middle of the process, but we are currently identifying 32 internationally comparable indicators at an OECD level. 25 is available at the regional level, meaning states, or actually we are looking at a smaller scale like a county in the US, in Japan, the prefecture level. But also we have developed 7 indicators which can be available at the city scale. These are the list of a little bit, presentation of major indicators. You may see them as perhaps a common indicators. Yes, you know these indicators and so on. Again, it's nothing new in terms of of what we are measuring. However, the key point is, again, we can measure the difference between national average and local performance, and we identify which municipalities are advanced than national level, which are lagging behind, so that government policymakers are informed where to invest, where to prioritize their action, climate action. Some preliminary findings from our research. For example, this one is an emission levels and trend. The size of the circles are showing the emission levels, and then the color is showing which direction you are going, reducing or increasing your emissions. As you see, within the US or within Australia, Japan, you see certain diversity. Here I happen to have a New Zealand example, but the per capita CO2 emissions are this much different across within the same country. Similar example is an indicator on heat island, urban heat island intensity index. And here in Japan, first of all, the non-urban areas and urban areas has already almost 5 degrees Celsius degrees difference in terms of the heat. Also, within the city, also you have a big difference. So some cities are more suffered by heat island effect than other cities. So it's quite important to understand this regional diversity. I have 2 more. So it's the green areas. Yeah, I'd like to focus on these graphs. So this is a way we propose to look at how national average is located. It's in this dark green dots, and then how different subnational governments are performing. And if you see the long bar, it means that disparities within the same country is large. Yes, so, and then you can also identify which cities are more, has more green or city has less green in this. Broad lists, the same thing. You can also see the national average, and then you can see the diversity across municipalities, in this case, actually regions. But again, the important thing is we have tried to provide the evidence which can inform the national policy makers that, hey, this much of the local government, there are this much of difference at the local level, and national government policy needs to be really prioritized, or, finding a way to address these differences and diversities at the local level. And so here are some policy implications from our initial work. Perhaps the important piece is, again, when we try to align and coordinate between national and local governments, this sort of information is quite useful, so that the local government can also use these numbers to request for support to national government, and national government can also see the same number in the same, on an equal footing basis. That is quite important. And then also at the last bullet point here, subnational governments can also identify their peers. We see similar problems in other municipalities within the country, but also internationally, so that you can also try to reach out, hey, we have a similar problem, so we can work together to tackle the problem. So it's an indicator framework, but actually it has we believe we have it has an important implication to policy framework. So in this TACAR program, we are, again, thank you for the support from the Japanese government. We like to finalize the indicator framework, developing a tool policy checklist, and then also collecting leading examples. The first 3 items, we are trying to make it as an input to the next G7 presidency in Japan, and then also continuing to do a country case studies, starting with Japan, and again, we like to invite other countries to join. Thank you very much for your intervention and your attention. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matsumoto, for your kind introduction for the how you support the subnational local activity. I also invite the another initiative by World Bank, Miss Maitriti Das. She's a practice manager for the urban disaster risk management, residence and land global practices. She kindly sends a video, so please let's look at her video.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Maitreti Das, and I'm here in the Tokyo Development Learning Center to share the experience of our Tokyo Development Learning Center, which we refer to as TDLC, which is its abbreviation, to share with you our experience in knowledge sharing, dissemination, and peer-to-peer learning for climate action. The Tokyo Development Learning Center was set up in the year 2004 and has had generous funding from the government of Japan. It is committed to this idea of sharing knowledge, learning from cities, from communities, from Japanese experience, and bringing it all together to tailor it to the action that is needed on the ground as far as cities in our client countries at the World Bank are concerned. Our particular area of focus, since I said cities, is cities and towns, so large towns, small towns, as well as big cities. So we really focus on urban development, and we do this through 2 or 3 mechanisms, and I'm going to share with you what those mechanisms are. The first mechanism that we have is our city-to-city partnership. So we currently have a more formalized partnership with 6 Japanese cities, and these 6 cities are the ones that you see on the map. These cities, we work together with them in order to distill the knowledge, in order to curate the knowledge, and to disseminate the knowledge to other cities across the world that the World Bank works with. In doing this, we do some case studies, we do a distillation of knowledge through reports, through publications, through videos. We use all the mediums available to us in order to share this knowledge from our city partnership program. So the second mechanism by which we distill, curate, and disseminate knowledge and share knowledge across cities, countries, communities, academics, NGOs is what we are probably better known for, which are the technical deep dives, short form TDD. These technical deep dives are 5-day immersive learning experience where we bring World Bank task teams and our clients where there is currently an engagement in that city or in that country, and they come to Japan, they stay here for 5 days. We have a partnership with the Japanese city. They go to that city, they learn, they teach, and it is a very, very intensive, common learning experience. At the end of the technical deep dive, the participants create an action plan. And this action plan is to say, this is what we've learned in the last 4 or 5 days, and this is how we're going to take it forward. They get comments on these action plan from other participants, and it ends up being a much more concrete experience than just if they were just to come here and listen or learn in different ways. We had a low-carbon, climate-smart city technical deep dive in March 2022. We have still been in the pandemic, and so it had to be a virtual learning experience. It had 52 partners that joined in different capacities. And this was very much focused on the climate change mitigation agenda. How do we build low-carbon cities? But that's not all we do. We also focus on climate change adaptation. And certainly the learning from Japan as far as adaptation to disasters is a very powerful learning experience that countries come together to learn from. And we do technical deep dives also that focus on Japan's experience with dealing with disasters and how Japan has become more resilient and has adapted better to these extreme weather events that are so common in this area. Then we have another way in which we distill knowledge and we apply it. We call this operational support. And by operational support, what we mean is that when a team comes in for a technical deep dive, it goes back, and if it has moved forward in terms of a project preparation or a project implementation, it can write to us and say, we would like more in-depth support in our operation. And we do this by providing experience, expertise, knowledge in different ways, very, very tailored to that particular project. And the picture you're seeing here is a project in Tanzania. It's the Dar es Salaam Metropolitan Development Project. It is in its second iteration, and TDLC has been a proud supporter of this project through our operational support window. So overall, just to recap, TDLC is a medium for facilitating knowledge flows. It brings together partners from many different walks of life, and it takes Japanese experience and helps other cities apply it. And in the process, it is an immersive learning experience for everyone concerned. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, so now we'd like to move to the panel discussions, and I would like to invite my good partner, Mr. Togo Uchida, Executive Director of the ICRE Japan. So, yeah, please facilitate panel discussion.
Thank you, Fujino-san. As I'm introduced, my name is Togo Uchida. I'm the Executive Director for ICRE Japan office. So I will be the moderator for the panel discussion session. So now I would like to call the speakers to be coming on the stage. So please take your seat. Yes, thank you very much. Please take a seat. Welcome. So we just heard, yes, the Lord Mayor is not feeling well, so you're representing on behalf. Your name is Diane Carey. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for representing Brisbane. So we don't have that much of time, but I am dying to hear more from the speakers. And I would like to ask a few questions, and I would like to start from Mayor Shah. Yes, if I may. So as I know, this morning there was a first ever COP ministerial meetings on climate change and urbanization, and you have made a statement, which is wonderful. And I would like to ask you to share what you have actually mentioned in this particular meeting and your expectations further on what we would like to have and hear from COP decision in terms of multi-level collaboration. So please.
First, let me thank ICLE for giving me the honor of speaking on behalf of cities and subnationals that are here at COP. There are so many of us. And we, of course, started by thanking the presidency because this was the first ever in history ministerial devoted to urbanization and the role of subnationals. And our request specifically was that this now happen every year, that we institutionalize the collaboration of subnationals, and that we also recognize that most of our emissions are coming from cities. So if we don't see the connections between urban issues and climate issues, we will not make sufficient progress. So it was a thrill to be there, to hear the different ministers talk. Very proud that the United States recognized ICLE's Surge initiative today and stated their support. So I say that we made some progress today in multi-level collaboration, which is what we need for progress.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask one more short question. So in terms of Quad, so we have heard from the government how they are committed to use the Quad as a framework to facilitate city-to-city collaboration. What do you see as a potential as a city in US to further use or facilitate this particular?
Well, I'm going to exercise my American right to free speech and just say that during the 4 years of our last president, Donald Trump, many of us cities that care about climate change felt abandoned at best and at war at the worst. And so the work for climate continued in American cities. And so think of it as your insurance policy. National government and leaders can change, but the people are still there. And the people need us to continue to fight for their existence. And so to recognize the power of all these different levels of government really is, for climate, going to ensure stability when politics in and of itself is never stable in any particular place.
Thank you very much. I would like to move on to Brisbane. So as a city, your Lord Mayor kindly explained to us and shared us the experience in Brisbane, and which is really, really impressive. I would like to ask you the same question. So our governments have already indicated that they are interested to work with us as cities and use the framework of Quad to facilitate this further, facilitate city-to-city collaboration. Do you have expectations further to deepen your activity of city-to-city collaborations? And how do you see this developing in the future under the framework of Quad?
Thank you. Can I just start by saying, though, I was at the ministerial roundtable this morning, and my colleague, the mayor here from Oakland, made such, I thought, a powerful intervention. And I think we should acknowledge how important and special that was. Thank you. I think representing, of course, the Lord Mayor, I think from our perspective, the value and the importance of cities in implementation of this agenda has been made so, thank you, so strong in this particular COP. Just about every session I have been in, we have heard cities need to do this. Cities need to do something else. So one of the things I would like is for us to see the importance of cities involved in the preparation of future COPs and to increase the number of mayors who are present. I think that's critical. From our specific city perspective, our step into the SDG cities network is probably the intervention that we would suggest at the moment. Sharing information, benchmarking ourselves against each other in international standards, I think helps cities understand how we might learn from one another and how we might find specific examples of what we can do better.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. I would like to actually move on to the government perspective, and I want to ask Joe Evans. So you're from the government perspective, and here at COP, you have been hearing the powerful words from mayors. Hundreds of mayors and councillors are now participating in COP and making their voice heard, and they've been presenting us with a concrete example of actions. And as a government official, hearing and seeing this activity, and with this Quad framework, what do you see as a future potential, and what do you see how these could deepen, given this magnitude of interest in urban activities?
Thanks. And there is clearly a really high level of interest from local governments, and it's great to see them present here. Personally, as I have walked around in this, in the pavilion areas and spoken with others, it's often the very tangible examples of projects that are happening or movements that are occurring at a local level that have the most impact in terms of giving you inspiration about the kinds of action that can happen, and also sort of giving you lessons so that you would actually be able to tangibly be able to take back, because they're the most real things that are happening in what can sometimes be an otherwise quite surreal environment, right? So I think there is an ongoing role to see the local government presence at events like this. The Quad itself, we're talking about it as a framework, but to be fair, the Quad is actually a leaders engagement. It's a very high level country to country process that is allowing sort of strategic discussions at that leader level to happen. And they commission people like myself to do work on specific things that they might then give an impetus to as leaders. And so I guess what I'm hearing is that this remains an area of real potential for us to do some further work on to say to leaders, these are the kinds of messages you might want to send to one another. So I can certainly keep that going and keep that conversation happening in the coming 12 months.
Fantastic. I would like to ask Watanabe-san. So you have explained that the Japanese government has been working quite some time actually in putting efforts on city-to-city collaboration, and the government's intention to further deepen this, and also in the framework of Quad. Please tell us a bit more about your expectations as a government on how you want to build this further.
Yeah, thank you, Togo-san. Honestly, I am so excited to be here and to be COP. And before attending COP27, I believed that the Japanese national government and the Japanese local governments made a lot of things on climate actions. But yeah, I understood that the world is so huge or broad, and there are many mayors and leaders of cities, and they committed their high ambition and commitment in the COP27. So yeah, I was so impressed, and I understood again the importance of multi-level action between national government and local governments. And yeah, after going back to my country, I would like to elaborate our measures as national governments, not only in domestic measures, but also international action like city-to-city collaboration programs. And in order to elaborate our measures, we would like to know other actions by other countries and cities further. So it is a good opportunity here to listen the efforts by Australian government and US. So we would like to make such opportunities for mutual learning between national governments and local governments. This is my the current idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very encouraging to hear this strong commitment from the government. And this morning in the ministerial meeting, we had very strong statement from the US government, as well as support from the Japanese government on the initiative. So I think we would like to see this further developing. As you may know, Japan is hosting G7 next year. So the G7 is also very strong leaders. They are committed with a communique, with the German presidency, mentioning a lot about the importance of subnational activities. So we are all seeing this, how do I say, development recently, and a lot of expectations putting on subnationals. So that's really great. So we also have a gentleman, Christopher Pablos. Thank you for waiting. So your colleague have shared us with the activity that World Bank is engaged as TDLC on providing somewhat of a training, city-to-city training in Japan. And as an organization and hearing these commitments from the national government and also local government, please share us your idea about how these activities can further deepen and also, how do I say, progress further so that we see this collaboration really going into, how do I say, improving and empowering the cities on the ground. So the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, and good evening from Tokyo. It's a pleasure to be here in this session. And I just wanted to share a few things, hearing from the presentations, and probably also share some insights on how we see, for example, better partnership among national governments and subnational entities, deal with the climate action agenda. I think this is something that we in the Tokyo Development and Learning Center. Can you hear me?
We could hear you, but it's a little bit low, so I'm asking the organizers to put the volume a little bit up.
Yes. So yes, as I was saying, that the TDLC is trying to facilitate this exchange of knowledge and ideas through our programs. No, but let me just start by saying the insights I'm sharing comes from the activities that we have earlier mentioned in Maitri's presentation, the technical deep dives. No? And she mentioned that earlier in March, we had one on low carbon climate smart cities, which focused on the role of cities in achieving ambitious mitigation targets, planning for climate action in cities, and development and financing low carbon city investments. And from what we hear from our participants from the cities that come to Tokyo, to Japan in general, one would be the issue of competing demands, no? Need to be dealt by our cities. By itself, they're preoccupied with basic services, for example, and now here comes a big agenda called the climate action. And how would this fit in the city priorities, no? Especially if the cities are asked to support national climate commitments? So what would be the role of national government in this discourse? One is really to nurture the city governments to implement, no, and come up with realistic action plans to further this climate action commitments, no. And that also means, obviously, the question of financing, which was also described in the earlier presentations. Cities, especially in our developing economies, to rely on transfers from national governments to be able to pursue climate actions, and therefore providing financial support is still key role of national government. They also cite the lack of access to quality information relating to climate change mitigation adaptation. And this is something that we hear from time to time. We heard from the OECD presentation such an interesting set of indicators, and this can be sort of like those kinds of things that we can share with our cities. And the role of the national government is to facilitate this access to such kinds of information, no? And educate still some of our cities on the climate change agenda. Finally, it would be on the capacity constraints. How do we deal with cities not being able to get to that level where they can fully understand how to deal with these kinds of challenges, no? But going back to this question of city-to-city collaboration as a means of mutual learning, I think it's very, very effective and efficient, no? When we talk about getting cities to talk amongst each other, and we find it to be more efficient in a way that cities, when they come together, they sort of like have this different kind of energy, you know? For example, if mayors come to our events, participants tend to be more energized. They can feel, they can associate themselves with the issues of the other cities because they sort of like experience the same issues, no? And therefore, we feel that facilitating this kind of exchange is very critical. We try to do that. My colleague might explain how we're trying to do this through the programs that the government of Japan is kindly supporting through the TDLC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pablo-san. I think it's very nice that you pointed out the importance of the enabling conditions for city to collaborate effectively. Finance is one thing, data availability. Masuno-san also mentioned about that kind of analysis will help us further be stronger in terms of accessing to finance. Communication will be more efficient, and then that can facilitate us further to actually communicate and have this multi-level collaboration more effectively. So yes, we already at the time of the end. So it was a very short session, but thank you very much for all of you for being here, and it was really wonderful. And let's just hope that the outcome of this COP27 will be very strong in the multi-level collaboration, and hopefully will continue for next year's COP as well. So thank you very much, and big applause for everyone who has speaking. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, panelists and the moderator. So please give the big applause against the panelists. Thank you so much, moderator Togo-san. Thank you so much. Yeah, now we almost time, and then Then I would like to invite last but not least, the speaker, Mr. Yoshihiro Mizutani, Director for International Strategy on Climate Change, Global Environment Bureau, Minister of Environment, Japan, for your closing remarks. So please.
Thank you, Fujino-san. Good afternoon. I'm Yoshiro Mizutani from Ministry of the Environment. It's my pleasure to deliver closing remarks at the end of this important Quad workshop on subnational climate action. First, I would like to thank distinguished representative from Quad members, the co-organizers, IGS and the ICRE, as well as the speakers and moderators. I was very impressed by many valuable and productive presentations made by today's speakers. Through two sessions, we identified the role of national governments in encouraging local governments to take climate actions, as well as recognize ways to promote city-to-city collaboration. By referring to various initiatives from other countries, we would like to strengthen cooperation between national and local governments in order to improve local decarbonization efforts in Japan. In addition, we would like to further support local governments around the world to take further climate actions. Japan, as one of Quad members, would like to promote cooperation with other Quad members in the subnational climate actions. Today, as some speakers mentioned, such initiative led by Egyptian presidency focusing on climate actions in urban areas has just launched. Japan is also joining this important alliance. Japan, as the next G7 presidency, hopes to be a bridge among these initiatives, Quad or Surge or something like that, for facilitating effective and robust climate actions. So I have one advertised announcement. Another seminar focusing on urban climate action will be held 20 minutes later to introduce specific example of advanced city level climate actions. So we do hope you also join another meeting as well. So thank you very much for your kind attention.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mizutani-san. So we would like to close this session. And then thank you so much for joining this very important launching workshop. Thank you so much.